The rain had been relentless that evening, pounding against the cobblestone streets like the fury of 1,000 unsaid words. I had envisioned this day for months, the day I would finally say, "I do," with the love of my life. My heart raced with a mix of excitement and nervous energy as I adjusted my black tie one last time, brushing imaginary raindrops off my shoulders. The chapel was supposed to be my sanctuary, the place where promises became forever, but forever can shatter in a single heartbeat. As I stepped closer to the chapel doors, my eyes caught a sight that would be etched into my memory for the rest of my life. There she was, my fiancé, walking hand in hand with the man I had considered my best friend, his hand resting on her lower back, her laughter ringing through the rain like a knife cutting through the air. I froze, my breath hitched. The world slowed as if mocking me, and I felt my soul crack, splintering into pieces too heavy to carry. The best man I had chosen, the one I had trusted more than my own brother, had become the villain in my life's story, and she the woman I had given my heart, my dreams. My trust was willingly letting him take everything I thought was mine. For a long moment, I just stood there, drenched in rain and betrayal, feeling the cold drip down my face and into my shattered heart. I had been the fool who believed in love, who believed in loyalty, who believed in us, and now there was nothing. But even as despair clawed at me, a strange clarity began to seep in. I couldn't change what had happened. I couldn't rewind time, but I could do something else, something no one expected. I turned away from the chapel, my wet shoes splashing in puddles, and made a silent vow beneath the stormy sky. One day, she would see what she lost. One day she would cry, not in joy, but in regret. The moment I returned to my apartment, the silence hit harder than the rain ever could. No laughter, no music, no voices, just the heavy thud of my heart echoing against the walls. I tossed my soaked jacket onto the chair, water pooling on the floor, and sank into the worn leather of my couch. The room smelled faintly of old books and stale coffee, a comfort I didn't even want. On the desk lay a photo I couldn't bring myself to throw away. Her smile, his smirk. My world, captured in a single snapshot of betrayal. My hands shook as I picked it up, my knuckles whitening. I wanted to scream, to throw something, anything. But I knew nothing could change the past. And yet, I couldn't let this defeat me. A strange, burning determination began to grow in my chest. Every plan I had ever made for our life together was gone, ripped away by deceit and treachery. But if I had to start over, I would. Stronger, smarter, unstoppable. I wouldn't just survive this, I would rise. That night, as the rain continued to hammer the city, I made a silent promise to myself. She will regret leaving me. And when she does, I will be untouchable. The path ahead would be long, filled with trials, heartbreak, and unexpected twists. But I was ready. The morning after the storm felt like a different world. The rain had stopped, leaving behind glistening streets and puddles that reflected the pale light of the rising sun. I stepped onto the rooftop of my building, letting the chill of the wind clear my mind. Below me, the city moved on, unaware of the war brewing in my heart. It was time to stop being the victim. Time to stop letting betrayal define me. Every memory of her laughter, every cruel smirk from my so-called best friend, had fueled a fire that could no longer be ignored. I started small. Subtle observations, gathering information, watching their routines from a distance. Each step, each plan, felt like sharpening a blade in the shadows. Revenge wasn't just about hurting them, it was about reclaiming my power, proving to myself that I could rise above the ruin they left me in. As I crouched on the edge of the rooftop, the city stretched out below me like a chessboard. Every light, every building, every person unaware of my silent march toward justice, it all became part of my strategy. I wasn't rushing. I was planning, calculating. And when the time came, the world they had built without me would crumble under the weight of my patience and precision. For the first time since that rainy wedding day, I felt alive. Not in the shallow way love once made me feel, but in the deep, raw clarity of someone who had been broken and was now forging themselves anew. This was only the beginning. The city never slept, and tonight it felt like it was conspiring against me. I walked through the bustling streets, shoulders tight, eyes scanning every face, every shadow. I wasn't looking for her, but fate has a cruel sense of humor. Through the neon haze and flickering lights, I saw her, My heart didn't leap. It didn't falter. Instead, a cold, burning focus sharpened within me. She didn't see me at first. Too engrossed in laughter and conversation with the man she had chosen over me, every step they took, every smile they shared, fueled the silent storm building inside me. I remembered the promises, the dreams, the whispered plans we had made in this very city. Everything had been stolen, trampled, replaced with betrayal. And yet I didn't rush. I didn't run after them screaming. I simply watched, studying, noting every weakness, every pattern. Tonight wasn't about confrontation, it was about understanding, about learning how to strike when the moment was right. And when I walked past her, letting the neon lights dance across my wet hair and determined face, I made another silent vow. One day, she'll remember this street, this night, and she'll wish she'd never left. Even as they disappeared around a corner, I felt the pulse of destiny beneath my feet. The city was alive, and so was my plan. The days following our encounter on the street passed like a blur. I immersed myself in work, strategy, and observation, each action deliberate, each thought sharpened like a blade. The pain of betrayal still lingered, but it no longer consumed me. It fueled me. I began compiling details, their schedules, habits, vulnerabilities, everything I had seen, every careless glance, every overconfidence, they would all play into my plan. Revenge was no longer a fleeting fantasy. It was becoming reality, brick by meticulous brick. Late nights stretched into early mornings. The city quiet outside my window as I mapped out my approach. I realized that power wasn't about confrontation. It was about control, subtlety, influence, precision, and I would have it all. There was a strange satisfaction in the cold logic of it. Each discovery, each insight, made the fire inside me burn brighter. I could almost feel their arrogance, the way they believed they had won, crumbling beneath my careful patience. But revenge wasn't just about them. It was about proving to myself that I could rise from devastation, stronger than ever, that even after betrayal, heartbreak, and loss, I could shape my destiny. As I closed my laptop, the first light of dawn creeping through the blinds, I whispered to myself, this is only the beginning. The moment they realize what they've lost will be unforgettable. The road ahead would be long and dangerous. But I had found my purpose. And with every step, every plan, every calculated move, I was reclaiming what was stolen. The moment had come. The culmination of weeks of careful observation, planning, and silent preparation. Every detail I had learned about them, every pattern I had noticed, would now be put into motion. I entered the building with the calm of a man who knew exactly what he was doing. The lobby was quiet, opulent, a symbol of success and wealth I had only dreamed of achieving. My eyes scanned the crowd, landing immediately on them, my ex-fiancé, and the man who had stolen everything from me. They were laughing, completely unaware of the storm that had quietly descended upon their lives. I tightened my grip on the folder, the weight of my plans resting in my hands. This wasn't about violence or chaos. It was about precision, subtlety, and the perfect timing. Every move I had rehearsed in my mind led to this moment. As I approached, my mind remained razor-sharp, cataloging reactions, noting weaknesses. The first strike wouldn't ruin them entirely. It would shake them, remind them of the power they had underestimated in me. For the first time since that rainy wedding day, I felt that intoxicating mix of anticipation and control. My heart, once broken, now pulsed with purpose. Each step closer to them was a step toward reclaiming what had been stolen, toward proving that I was not the victim. They were. And in that precise moment, as I finally came within sight, I allowed a faint, almost imperceptible smile to cross my face. They have no idea what's coming. The plan had reached its critical moment. Every small move I had executed over the past weeks had led to this night. The city, drenched in rain and neon light, felt like the perfect stage for my silent, meticulous revenge. From across the street, I watched them again, laughing, careless, oblivious. My pulse quickened, not from fear, but from the exhilarating clarity of control. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was orchestrating every beat of this encounter. I activated the final part of my setup, emails, messages, and evidence, all strategically. Timed, were about to reach their intended recipients. This wasn't about cruelty. It was about justice, poetic and precise. Every move I had made had been calculated to expose, to unmask and to reclaim my power. As the first notification pinged on their devices, I saw their expressions shift in real time, confusion, panic, the first glimmers of fear. The rush of satisfaction was intoxicating, yet beneath it, a cold, steady resolve reminded me this was only the beginning. The storm around me mirrored the turmoil I had endured. But unlike before, I no longer felt helpless. I was in control now. Every betrayal, every tear, every sleepless night had forged me into something stronger, sharper, and unstoppable. Tonight, the balance of power had shifted. And as I turned to walk into the shadows, leaving them to realize the consequences of their arrogance, I whispered to myself, "This is just the start. The real reckoning comes next." By now, the effects of my careful orchestration were starting to ripple through their world. Every action I had taken over the past weeks was coming together, each thread of my plan weaving an undeniable web of consequence. I watched from the safety of my high-rise vantage point as the chaos I had silently seeded began to bloom. Their reactions were priceless: confusion, desperation, panic, all perfectly timed. It wasn't cruel, it was justice. Every betrayal they had thrown my way, every lie, every casual dismissal, had led them here. I let a quiet smile touch my lips. I was no longer the boy abandoned at the altar, no longer the man crushed by heartbreak. I had become something more, precise, calculated, untouchable. And tonight, they would finally understand the magnitude of what they had lost. But it wasn't only about them. It was about me reclaiming my dignity, my power, and my future. The storm outside mirrored. The storm within me, a tumult of past pain, transformed into clear, unwavering purpose. I would rise from betrayal stronger than anyone had imagined. And as the night deepened, I whispered to the city below, "They will regret the day they ever underestimated me. This is my reckoning, and it has only just begun." The moment of truth had arrived. Months of preparation, patience, and silent observation had led to this confrontation. Every plan, every subtle move had been aimed at this single night. I stepped into the grand hall, my presence commanding and calm. The echo of my footsteps on the polished floor resonated through the space, a sound they would never forget. Across from me, their faces told the story before I even spoke. Shock, guilt, disbelief. They had thought they could evade consequences, that their arrogance would shield them. I allowed myself a small, controlled smile. "Do you remember the wedding day?" I asked softly, but the weight of the question filled the room like thunder. Their silence was my answer. Every betrayal they had inflicted, every lie, every stolen dream, they would see it all reflected back at them tonight. And yet I didn't speak the cruel words they expected. My revenge was calculated, precise, far more powerful than anger alone. Tonight wasn't about destruction, it was about revelation. Power had shifted. The boy abandoned at the altar had become a man who could command, who could rise above heartbreak, who could turn betrayal into triumph. And as I looked into their faces, seeing fear and regret mirrored back at me, I felt something I hadn't in months: closure. The storm outside the hall mirrored the storm I had endured within. And with each passing second, it became clear. The final act of this story was mine to command. Tomorrow everything will change. They will never forget this night. The day had finally arrived. The culmination of months of planning, patience, and silent perseverance, my second wedding. As I stood at the altar holding the hand of the woman who had seen my worth, my heart felt steady, unshaken. She had been there through the storm, through the heartbreak, and through the long nights when I questioned everything. She was my anchor, my true partner. Across the room, I glimpsed them, my ex-fiancé and the man who had stolen my trust, now powerless spectators. Their faces betrayed the shock and regret I had known would come. This wasn't about cruelty. This was justice. The boy abandoned at the altar had grown into a man, who not only survived, but thrived. The ceremony flowed like a river, a beautiful rhythm of joy, love, and new beginnings. Every vow I spoke was a testament to resilience, to rising from betrayal, and to finding someone who truly deserved me. The crowd cheered, but I only had eyes for her, the woman who had walked beside me when the world had turned its back. For the first time in what felt like eternity, I smiled freely. The storm of my past had passed, leaving clarity, power, and a renewed sense of purpose. They had thought my story ended at Heartbreak, but it was just the beginning. As the final chords of the ceremony played and confetti fell around us like rain, I whispered silently, "This is my victory. This is my life, and I will never be broken again."